let's say you do make this wrong decision, which is all just learning. It's all these beautiful detours. Well, you can always tap back into that divine GPS system and you're still going to get to where you need to be as long as you keep checking in with yourself, your soul, with God, knowing this now that you can't mess it up. You can't make a wrong decision. What's that tiny first step you need to take? I promise you it's going to feel so good to get out of that paralyzed state. I think that's way more draining than just doing the thing you know you need to do. Welcome to The Introverted Influencer, the podcast for the woman who's over getting advice from 20-year-old business coaches on Bali sabbaticals and seven-figure entrepreneurs who only share their wins. I'm your host, Erica Van Slyke, blogger turned soulpreneur, mom of two, and a mentor for women done with the hustle. Here, sacred strategy meets feminine flow, and we expose what it really takes to build a business grounded in purpose, not trends. A brand that moves with your rhythm, not the algorithm, because you didn't leave your 9-to-5 grind just to build a shinier cage with your name on it. Well, hello, my love. Welcome back to episode 97 of the Introverted Influencer podcast. Thank you so very much for joining me. I do not take it for granted. I know life is crazy, hectic, just especially if you're a mom and you're a business owner and you're going after your dreams, it's a lot. So I really don't take your time and your attention for granted at all. And I do my best to make these short so that you can get back on with your busy life. So I had, considered doing longer episodes, but the feedback I get is I love the quick, 15-minute, 20-minute messages. So I'm going to keep going with that until I hear otherwise. So today's message is for anyone just over-analyzing, overthinking everything to the point where they don't even get started and execute. And I never quite understood this. I'm going to be honest. I have always been the type, I get something in my brain, I get this vision or I get this download and it's like I can't unsee it and I have to do it. And I think that in former versions of myself, I was able to just act and think about it later and reflect on it later. And sometimes, it wasn't always great. And I could look back and cringe on some of the things that I've done, but that was never an issue for me. And now that the stakes are higher in life, that I've experienced success, true success, in a really fulfilling way, aligned success. And, of course, the bills are bigger as well. I am starting to understand that. But what came to me, this is so funny. Lately, I just feel like because I'm obsessed with design, decorating, design, that is my obsession. And I've been doing it for 10 years now. My blog actually turns 10 in 2 weeks. I can't believe it. And I'm still obsessed with design, to this day. So I know it's kind of weird sometimes how I have these references and metaphors and it has to do with home decor, but just bear with me, okay? It's my life. So I was finally getting around to getting to work on my kitchen. It had been the very last room. I feel like the previous owners, they did a lot, but the kitchen was kind of one of those things they really didn't touch. And so it was a blank slate for me. And I was, kitchen renovations and all that comes with it. It can be nerve-wracking because it's really high cost materials you're working with, major decisions. And I could have followed a template from some of the big popular designers like Amber Lewis or Shay McGee. I could have found a picture on Pinterest and said, okay, this person has grayish cabinets, black soapstone countertops, Z-leaf tile, brass hardware. We are going to follow this format to a T, right? And that's what a lot of influencers do. A lot of bloggers, they're great at emulating those styles. But no, of course, not me. I've got to make things really hard on myself and try to come up with something that's never been done. And I started kind of freaking out when I'd already, put the down payment on my slabs of marble and invested and and certain high dollar materials. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what if this shit doesn't come together right? I was like having a little spiral of doubt. And then I started to, it's actually, I can't remember the designer who said this. So this is just a paraphrase, but it's the little voice coming up, that still small voice that kind of paraphrased this wisdom. And that is really in design. People want to overcomplicate it, and it can be intimidating, especially when you're investing a lot of money. It does feel high stakes, yes, but you really can't fuck it up. You can, as you make each decision, yes, your options and your path gets more narrow. You lose more of the possibility as you continue to make each decision. You're kind of making your bed in a way, but it's fixable. And more than that, it is so subjective. It is so incredibly subjective. And there's no right or wrong aesthetic, right? It's just with each selection, you're veering more into a certain aesthetic. And you can use basic guidelines and rules to ensure that it comes out visually appealing. But no certain aesthetic is right or wrong. It's just a matter of your personal preference, right? That's it. And so at one point I was having the kitchen lean a little more industrial, and then you can kind of change the lighting, and then all of a sudden it leans boho, but it's not wrong. Does that make sense? It's not wrong. It just turns out with a different vibe and aesthetic. And so you have to stay true to what is that calling, what is going to be the most reflective of your personality and what you want and your vision. And something that I've even come to love more and appreciate about design as I've studied it for so long is I'm actually sick of these perfectly curated, perfectly styled rooms where you can tell they have followed the rules of interior design to a T, to the very last inch. Right now, I have found myself either loving like an extremely oversized light fixture, for example, to where it's totally not the right scale, but it makes a statement. It's cool. It's what makes it unique. It's what makes you stop out of all this polished perfection, right? Or in the opposite, I'm falling in love with more of that English Euro design where maybe the kitchen pendants are way undersized, but there's a charm to it. So what I'm saying is, even if you don't follow the rules, the rule book, it can still turn out actually, to me, even more noteworthy and intriguing than if you just completely follow the rules, right? Quick pause, you beautiful soul. So if you've been vibing with this episode and you are building a brand, a blog, or even a brick and mortar business, I would love to support you in your journey. I am so freaking excited to announce that I am now offering one-on-one consulting for creatives and entrepreneurs who want to grow with their feminine flow, their soul essence, and are over the hustle, over the burnout, and done spinning their wheels on strategy that doesn't even fucking convert. To learn more about my offerings and to book something with me, head on over to introvertedinfluence.com. And now let's get back into it. So I kind of was able to like calm myself down and remind myself of that fundamental design truth that I'd heard. But applying this to life, I'm also at this crossroads, I think, where I've been doing the blog for 10 years. I realize it may not be everything for me anymore, but I'm not really sure which aspects of my strengths and my talents to capitalize on. There's the creative route, and I'm seeing creative opportunities that I could definitely monetize. And then there's also my marketing and business sense. And I've had some really major movers and shakers approach me about helping them with their business to a much more high stakes, not as creative of a role. It would be more of like a business minded kind of opportunity. And it's like this fear of making the wrong decision that I have honestly in my life never felt before. And so I circled back to, hey, I really can't fuck it up. I get to choose my own adventure here, right? I can veer more into that creativity, that creative lane, or I can see what it's like to be Miss CMO. And it's not wrong. Neither choice are wrong. Now, will they perhaps limit, like constrict my path as I'm having, because, with each opportunity, everything you say yes to, you kind of have to say no to at the same time. Sure. But is it like set in stone that perhaps if I started to serve in more of a visionary, more hands-off, not in the creative, more just overseeing creative departments, is that going to perhaps suck the creativity out of me? I don't know. The only way I would know is if I actually did it, right? So this message is for you if you're sitting there so afraid to make a decision or to even start something because you're afraid you're going to fuck it up. I get it now. I'm with you. The struggle is so real, but there's nothing that you can't undo. And I want to add to that, just like I was saying, sort of those imperfect decisions sometimes, just as with design, when someone intentionally veers out of the rules, to me, it makes it all the more interesting and authentic, right? So I just want to remind you that you have got to be really tuned in to yourself, to God, to your intuition, to your soul. Oh, you got to tap into that because the peanut gallery is going to have you so confused and everybody's going to have their own opinion about what's the smartest move for you. And everybody sees something different from you as well. So you can't just listen to all the opinions. Even if you see people you admire and in many ways they are where you want to be, at least in a broad sense, if you did exactly what they did and followed their exact strategy, their exact template, I can promise you, you're going to be living a life that you feel is not yours, that something is not right. And what I can tell you from personal experience is that when you try to follow someone else's blueprint, especially out of scarcity, because you're afraid if you do it your own way, it won't work. You're not smart enough to come up with your own way, or just you're so afraid of not getting what you want. And so you're just going to listen to all the experts in air quotes and do it the way they did it. You can, for me at least, because I'm not someone with a ton of hustle energy. So you get in that hustle, you can make it happen, but it starts to kill you inside. And ultimately, I lost it because I couldn't continue in a way that drained me and sucked all the joy from my craft. So this is your reminder. There's no right or wrong. And let's say you do make this wrong decision, which is all just learning. It's all these beautiful detours. Well, if you can tap in, maybe God did have the fastest path and you didn't listen to God. You didn't listen to your soul's nudges. So you take a little detour. Well, you can always tap back into that divine GPS system and you're still going to get to where you need to be as long as you keep checking in with yourself, your soul, with God, and drowning out the noise. Don't listen to it, babe. So with that, knowing this now that you can't mess it up, you can't make a wrong decision, what's that tiny first step you need to take? I promise you it's going to feel so good to get out of that paralyzed state. I think that's way more draining than just doing the thing you know you need to do and starting. I think within the starting, you're going to get this new wave of energy and ideas. So with that being said, I'm sending you so much love. And please, would you give this show a review? This show it just comes basically as my way to give back. And I lose money doing the show because I have to pay for hosting and an editor. So the biggest way you can pay it for is just to leave me a review on a 5-star review, please, on any of the podcast platforms that you use. And also share it on social media. Take a screenshot, tag me in it at Designing Vibes. That helps spread the word as well. And I will talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We could keep on spreading the word about this podcast. And 2 ways you can help me out is by leaving me a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this episode on, or you can actually take a screenshot of this episode and tag me over on Instagram at Designing Vibes. And of course, I would love you to DM me whatever resonates, and I am sending you so much love.